First of all, has everyone come through okay from the weekend?
Yeah, pretty much. Adam Jackson, body's creaking a little bit, but obviously we've been aware about that for a couple of games. I've mentioned he's been touch and go, very much 50-50 for a couple of games now, and yeah, he's gone through the mill a little bit, so he'll be touch and go again. At some point, he's going to have to come out of it. We're a little bit short, as everyone's aware, so it's just picking that right moment, really.
We spoke to him last week, actually, in the player press conference interview, and asked him about him trusting his body. Is it a case of it'll just be how he feels tomorrow?
Yeah, and just getting him just through the days in between the games more than anything, and just making sure that he's getting the recovery that he needs, and not really doing too much in between, and just having to sort of manage not just his body, but just his the mentality side of it as well, because there's a lot of sort of responsibility on his shoulders in terms of the senior statesman back there.
You mentioned on Saturday post-match with Michael that Liam Bridcut may come back, or may have to come back in tomorrow. Is that still the case? Is he likely to come straight back in?
Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully he'll get another session under his belt today, and as long as he's sort of fine and he comes through it, it won't be a case of sort of trying to integrate him back into it. I don't think we've got the time or the sort of games to be able to do that. So I think again, similar to Jacko, he knows his body, he gets it, he's very experienced, and if he has to play, he'll manage the game to suit what he needs, which can also help us as a team.
Is it his leadership skills as much as his actual sort of playing ability that you've missed over the last few weeks?
I think so, because there's no doubt about it. He's a good footballer, and the level he's played at and the teams he's played at suggests that. But you're right, it's what he can bring with his voice, with his experience, his positioning on the pitch. He gets himself in positions where the opposition attacks break down, and it's not always as easy on the eye for the average fan to see. But as a coach, it makes your job a lot easier.
And a similar sort of note, really, how much of your job when you're going through spells like this sort of becomes about man management and coaching the person as much as the player?
Yeah, and it's probably more so the group. I think, especially when you've got a young group, the reality is at this moment in time, we're probably having a spell that we probably expected to have pretty much all through the season on a regular basis, and we're pretty much thereabouts, middle of the road. And what we added to the group was a little bit of real quality in terms of the couple of loans that we brought in, and it obviously gives us a little bit of an extra edge. And when it's not quite happening for us as it is at this moment in time, when them questions are asked of those young players, it's up to obviously myself and the staff just to make sure that they are getting the information that they need, taking the right information on board, keeping that belief and staying as positive as they possibly can.
And how do you go about giving those young players sort of the confidence and almost the freedom to be able to showcase their skills at a time when kind of every point matters?
By not doing anything too drastically different to what you've been doing for the last 30 odd games, because it's worked for a long time in a period of time. I think sometimes you might have to be a little bit more pragmatic in your approach, and tomorrow night's a great example of that. We know what we're going up against, we know what we're going to face. We know how they're going to approach the game. Obviously, the pitch is a little bit tricky for us at this moment in time. So, there's certain areas of the field that, I know that they will want us to sort of play in, and we've got to be aware of that and maybe, do something a little bit different.
You mentioned the pitch there. Are there times, and is this potentially one of them, where you have to kind of think about adapting styles, perhaps, or obviously you're kind of very much set in, wanting to your side to play pleasing on the eye, but are there times when you maybe need to adapt at all?
Well, I think we do that anyway, and we did it on Saturday. We just have to make sure we do it at the right times. We were aware that of what potentially we might face on Saturday with Rochdale changing their formation against Shrewsbury in the previous game to us. So it's more of a timing, the timings of the games, and I think obviously we've been slow starters over the last probably 2 months or so for some reason. won a lot of games and played really well in them periods as well. So it might have something to do with having the likes of Liam Bridcut and Joe Walsh and George Grant of recent times out of the team. But yeah, I think it's one of them where making sure that 20 minutes into the game, whatever the scoreline tells us, just making sure that we're on the front foot and we're being aggressive in our approach.
Is this the kind of period where you miss the fans the most?
I think so, and I think we've missed them. You know, sounds like after the event, so to speak. But I have been saying it since day one. You know, there's certain clubs in the leagues, League One, League Two, Championship, even the Premier League, some that actually having the crowds there probably won't make that much of a difference because the atmosphere or lack of atmosphere. I think at our place, when it's not going quite well for us, especially on a Tuesday night under the lights, you know, I think the crowd allow us to win games and take points from games that possibly we might not deserve. And sometimes that can be the difference between success and failure.
Tomorrow night, Gillingham coming to the Bank. Are they another case of another side who will come to the Bank and have nothing to lose?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, you've only got to see their approach and how they approach the game. You know, it'll go from back to front very, very quickly. They've got, you know, arguably between Oliver and Charlie White in terms of the best at doing that and dealing with that. Big Johnny Kindy's obviously in there as well, and they've got options that can really hurt teams by getting the ball from back to front early and playing in the opposition's half of the field. And it's not easy to play against. It's, you know, risk-free football, and sometimes, you know, over periods of time it can have a bit of success. So we're mindful of it. I think sometimes you've got to be accepting that you're not going to win every first contact. I think we're going to lose a lot of first contact. But then the big responsibility then comes to winning second balls and third balls. And I think when we went to their place a couple of months or so ago, I thought we were outstanding at that. I thought we did that really, really well. You know, we won a mixture of first contacts on the night, but we dropped on a lot of second balls. And yes, we had a lot of experienced players in the group at that time, there's no doubt about it, but the players are aware that, you know, there's certain responsibilities that we're going to have to do tomorrow and take care of before we even think about trying to play some decent football.